The sun blazed over the Charlotte Amal Lee High School field, a patchwork of green where grass fought to hold against bare earth. The bleachers groaned with people leaning over the rails, fans fanning themselves with folded programs, vendors weaving between rows with coolers of cold drinks. The smell of fried pâté, Johnny cakes, and chicken drifted on the humid air. Voices rose in a chorus of patois, laughter, shouts, and bursts of whistles whenever the ball rolled close to goal, and every set of eyes followed Shlomo, Mo Williams. 17, tall and wiry, his dark skin shining with sweat. 7 braids swung neatly down his back, his smile, bright, white, and almost too perfect to be real, flashed like a spotlight. He was the boy everyone whispered about, the one who'd gone viral on YouTube. The striker with goals so slick they made tourists drop their phones and stare. The kid they said could be the Virgin Islands first to break into Europe. The referee's whistle split the air. The game surged into motion. The ball came to Shlomo early, rolling sweetly across the grass. Kareem streaked down the wing, wide open. "Ball, Mo, square it!" The crowd took it up, a chant swelling like a wave. Pass it, boy!" But Shlomo tuned them out. His chest tightened with a thrill. Pass? For what? Ronaldo wouldn't pass this one. This crowd came to see me. He feinted left, slid right, split the defender, and ripped a shot. Clang! The ball slammed the post and spun away. Groans echoed through the bleachers. Kareem threw both arms wide. "Come on, man! Ya blind!" Coach James stormed down the sideline, his voice booming. "Mo! Ya try and win this game alone! Football is 11, not 1! Shlomo only grinned, dazzling teeth flashing, jogging back like nothing had gone wrong. To him, almost was enough. The crowd's disappointment was just background noise. Still, it lingered. They don't know. They don't understand what it feels like when the ball is mine. Minutes later, the score was still tied 1-1. Sweat dripped into his eyes as the ball found him again. Kareem shouted, hands waving furiously. Jaynae, the captain, was open too, pounding his chest. "Ball! Mo! Pass it!" The bleachers erupted with them. "Pass! Pass!" But Shlomo's tunnel vision narrowed. "If I pass, they'll cheer his name, not mine. Passing means no glory." He ignored them all. He danced between defenders, cut inside, and fired. The keeper pounced, clutching the ball to his chest. This time, the stadium didn't groan. It erupted in boos. "Selfish!" someone screamed from. "Ya only play for yourself!" Kareem stormed past him, eyes blazing. "You think you Ronaldo, but you just Mo." Even Jaynae slapped the ground in frustration. Coach James pressed his hands to his face, pacing, muttering, "This boy gon' drive me mad." The tension clung heavy in the air. The crowd restless, the coach fuming, his teammates starting to look at him less like a star and more like a problem. When the whistle blew, the score remained 1-1. Penalties would decide it. Mo buried his shot, cool as ever, arms outstretched in his Ronaldo pose. But the real hero was the keeper, who saved the last attempt to win it all. The team erupted, but they didn't rush Mo. They swarmed the keeper instead. Mo stood apart, grin fading as the celebration carried on without him. He glanced back at the rusted goalposts, the chipped paint, the sagging nets. One day, he thought, I'll play where the goals gleam white, where nets snap like thunder, where the whole world is watching. Outside the gate, Nana Inez was waiting. Folding chair under one arm, Bible under the other, her wide-brimmed straw hat casting shadow over eyes sharper than any referee's. Mo jogged up, expecting a smile. Instead, smack! Her palm cracked across his head. "Nana!" he yelped, clutching his braids. "You nearly throw that whole game away with you selfishness," she snapped. "Football is not a one-man parade. Integrity gon' take you farther than feet. Talent open doors, but character keep them open." Her glare held steady, but her hand slipped into her bag. She pressed a warm Johnny cake into his palm. "Still proud of you, boy, but don't test me again." Later that night, Mo and Nana sat shoulder to shoulder in the small living room. the fan creaking above. On the TV, Cristiano Ronaldo rose above defenders, smashing a header into the net. Mo leapt up, fists in the air. "Yes, that's greatness, Nana," she fanned herself, eyes gleaming. "Lord, if I was 20 years younger, I'm moving to Dubai and marrying that man myself." Mo nearly doubled over laughing. "Nana, Ronaldo too rich for you. You gonna be cooking dumplings for him every night." "And what wrong with that?" she teased back. "Is dumpling build strong men. That's why he score like that." They laughed until tears ran down Mo's face. But when the match ended, her tone hardened again. "You see how he passed, Mo? Even the best share the glory. That's why he great." Mo nodded, but in his head, he replayed only the goals. Passing still felt like weakness. His phone buzzed. His mother's tired voice came from her hospital. "Break," his father chiming in from the taxi garage. "Your Nana gave us the whole play-by-play," she said with a weary laugh. "Sound like you nearly give her a heart attack." Mo laughed with them, but inside he bristled. They weren't there. They didn't see the crowd chant my name. That frustration carried him outside, under the flicker of a streetlight. Alone, ball at his feet, he trained like the game hadn't ended. Shots hammered against the concrete wall, volleys into dented trash bins, stepovers until his legs trembled. Sweat poured down his face, but each strike ended with arms raised in Ronaldo's pose, the roar of an imaginary stadium flooding his ears. What Mo didn't know was that someone else was watching. Leaning against a rental car in the shadows was Luis Ferreira, sporting Lisbon Academy scout. The same academy that had shaped Luis Figo, Nani, Bruno Fernandes, and Ronaldo himself. Luis had seen players like this before, raw, gifted, selfish, the kind that burned bright but needed molding before Europe devoured them. He scribbled into his notebook. Technically brilliant, hungry, selfish, needs structure. As Mo collapsed onto the grass, chest heaving, Luis lifted his phone. His Portuguese accent was steady. "I found one. Raw, special. Send the paperwork." Mo dreamed only of becoming Ronaldo, but greatness wasn't in the goals alone, and that was the lesson he had yet to learn. It was Saturday morning on St. Thomas, and the island hummed with life. Taxi horns blared down Main Street, vendors shouted about fresh mangoes, saltfish, and pâtés, and the sweet smell of frying Johnny cake drifted through the neighborhood. Down at Yacht Haven Grande, 2 cruise ships loomed against the turquoise water, tourists spilling into town with cameras swinging from their necks. But up the hill, Shlomo had eyes only for the ball. Barefoot in the yard, sweat rolling down his temples, he juggled sharp and fast, each touch crisp, each flick a promise to himself. On the porch, Nana Inez rocked slow in her chair, Bible open, straw hat shading her eyes. "Boy, you don't rest," she called. "Rest is for people who ain't hungry," Shlomo said, flicking the ball high and catching it on his chest, flashing his perfect grin. "You gon' dead from football before ya reach big time," she muttered, though the pride in her eyes betrayed her. That's when the black sedan turned into the narrow lane, too polished for the dented cars parked along it. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out. Neatly pressed shirt. Shoes spotless despite the dust. Eyes sharp as a hawk. "Good morning," he said, voice touched with Portuguese. Inez sat forward, eyes narrowing. "Morning, and who you be?" "I'm Luis Ferreira. I am a scout for Sporting Lisbon Academy in Portugal." He spoke the name carefully, letting it hang in the air. The ball slipped from Shlomo's foot and clattered against the gate. His chest seized. Sporting Lisbon. The same academy that developed Cristiano Ronaldo? A small chuckle escaped Luis. "So you know your football history." "Tell me, what do you know about Ronaldo?" Shlomo straightened, almost bursting. "Everything!" He came from Madeira, Sporting picked him up, and by 17 he was already in Manchester. "He's the greatest, the hardest worker, the—" "Enough!" Nana cut in, her voice sharp as a whip. Her gaze snapped back to Luis. You calling Ronaldo name like is magic. But what business you got with my grandson? Luis straightened, his tone calm but firm. I came because I saw him play. He has talent. Rare talent. And I believe he can rise higher than this island if he is given the right path. Inez didn't blink, stepping closer. She'd lived 85 years, seen men with smooth talk and empty promises. Her voice carried iron. And what you think my grandson missing? Luis met her gaze without flinching. Discipline. Teamwork. I know selfish talent when I see it. Ronaldo was selfish once too. I was there in Madeira, one of the men who scouted him before Lisbon signed him. Talent alone is not enough. Talent must be shaped. For the first time, a flicker of surprise passed across Inez's face, but her jaw stayed set. She gave a short nod. I contacted his parents, they on their way. Come inside, sit, talk proper in the house. The living room carried the richer scent of frying Johnny cake mixed with furniture polish. Family portraits lined the walls, and the fan creaked overhead as Luis sat neatly, folder balanced on his lap. Shlomo hovered near the door, restless, almost vibrating with energy. The screen door banged open. His father strode in first, wiping sweat from his brow, taxi shirt damp. Ma, this better be important. Ship's in today and I'm missing money out He stopped mid-sentence, spotting Luis on the sofa. His tone shifted instantly. He stepped forward, extending his hand firmly. Good afternoon. I'm Samuel James, Inez's son. Luis rose, clasping his hand with equal respect. Luis Ferreira, scout for Sporting Lisbon Academy in Portugal. Shlomo's mother followed, weary in her scrubs, eyes heavy but posture proud. She gave a polite nod, gaze sharp. Luis stayed standing, his voice calm but deliberate. I should explain properly. I work for Sporting Lisbon, one of the most respected academies in Europe. The same place Cristiano Ronaldo, Luis Figo, and Bruno Fernandes began their careers. I've been scouting internationally for over 15 years, and I came here because I saw your son's videos. What I saw on the field confirmed it. Shlomo has a gift that deserves shaping. I wanted to bring this to you directly, as his family. The room went still. Then Shlomo's mother leaned forward, eyes narrowing. I heard nothing about this academy. Is it accredited? You said education. Does that mean he will graduate with a proper diploma? Shlomo opened his mouth to jump in, but she lifted her hand sharply and he closed it without a word. Her tone pressed harder. And how did you even hear about my son? Did you come all the way here from Portugal just to see him? Luis sat straighter, meeting her gaze. Your son's videos have already been shared widely. Talent like his does not stay hidden. I came because I wanted to see with my own eyes if the boy in the videos was real. And he is? Samuel's brow furrowed, voice deep with caution. Portugal, you say? That's across the world. If something happened, who gon' look after him? Who gon' keep him safe when we not there? At Sporting Lisbon Academy, Luis replied. Housing, meals, education, all provided under strict supervision. He will be in our care. Luis stood, pulling the folder from under his arm and setting it carefully on the table. Everything you need to know about Sporting Lisbon is in here. History, accreditation, schooling, training. My personal contact information is inside as well. If you have questions, you can reach me directly. Shlomo's mother pressed her lips thin. He doesn't even have a passport. Luis nodded. That will have to be resolved quickly. The trial begins in 3 weeks. I need an answer soon, or the opportunity will pass. The words sank into the room like a stone in water. Shlomo couldn't hold back any longer. His chest heaved as he stepped forward, voice ringing with energy. Mom, Dad, listen to me! This isn't just football, this is destiny. This is the same academy where Ronaldo started. I'll work harder than anyone. I'll prove to you I belong there. Don't make me miss this. Please. I can't let this chance slip away. His mother's eyes glistened, but she shook her head slowly. Shlomo, you're still just a boy. He slammed a fist against his chest. I'm not just a boy, I'm your son. And I'm ready. I was born for this. Samuel's jaw clenched, his voice low. Sometimes wanting something bad don't make it the right time. Shlomo grabbed his phone, swiping frantically. Look right here. He thrust it forward. Ronaldo's young face filled the screen, fierce in Sporting's green and white kit. That's where he started. It's real. This is real. He swiped again, showing Sporting's current youth squad, Luis visible among the staff. And that's him, Luis Ferreira, the same man sitting right here. This is no trick. The room fell still. Even Inez leaned forward, peering at the screen. Finally, Shlomo's mother broke the silence, her voice trembling. This is very huge. We need time. Can you give us at least that? Luis exhaled slowly, then gave a single nod. You have my folder. But I need your answer soon. 3 weeks is not long. He rose, straightening his shirt. Good afternoon, and thank you for your time. The screen door squeaked shut behind him. Inside, Shlomo clutched the phone to his chest, Ronaldo's face still glowing on the screen. His voice cracked with raw urgency. You see? This is where he started, and this is where I have to go. No one answered. Samuel rubbed his jaw. His wife folded her arms, and Nana's chair rocked slow in the heavy silence. The ball rolled across the floor, bumped the wall, and stopped. The island slept, but Shlomo could not. He lay on his bed staring at the ceiling fan, its slow blades pushing the humid night air around the room. Outside, tree frogs chirped their endless chorus, and a loose shutter knocked softly against the wall. His phone glowed in his hand. Ronaldo's young face stared back from an old Sporting Lisbon photo. Shlomo's pulse quickened. He whispered under his breath, Please, God, let this be real. Instead of sleep, he searched. Sporting Lisbon Academy. Life in Portugal. How to get a passport fast. Videos showed the training grounds, the stadium lights, classrooms where boys no older than him scribbled notes after practice. He pictured himself there, green and white jersey, walking the tunnel Ronaldo once walked, the roar of a European crowd already in his ears. Heart-thumping, he flipped to Instagram. He found Sporting's youth players and sent messages. I'm Shlomo from the Virgin Islands, thinking about joining. How's it really there? To his surprise, replies blinked back. Hard work, every day, no play. Cold here, very different, but best chance of your life. Ronaldo, start here. You can too. Shlomo sat bolt upright. His chest burned like fire. He couldn't just lie here while his parents talked behind closed doors like he was still a little boy. He had to show them he was ready. He leapt up, grabbed his ball, and stormed barefoot into the living room. His parents sat across from each other, voices low, a single lamp flickering between them. The smell of liniment still hung faintly in the air, mixed with the sweet grease of Johnny cake from earlier. Samuel nursed a glass of cold water, the ice clinking softly. His wife still wore her scrubs, knotting and re-knotting the drawstring as if bracing herself. Nana Inez rocked steady, Bible closed on her lap, straw hat tilted low. Shlomo burst in, ball under one arm, phone in the other, eyes blazing. I've done my research, his words rushed out hot, filling the quiet room. The academy isn't just football, it's school, it's discipline, it's everything. I looked up what life is like in Portugal. I even talked to players there right now. They answered me. They said it's hard, but it's worth it. They said this is how you become somebody. His mother looked up sharply, arms folded. Shlomo, you think because you message a few boys online you know what sacrifice is? Portugal is not here. You can't call me from down the street. You can't run home when it gets cold and hard. That's another world. Shlomo's chest heaved. He stepped closer, the ball slipping from his grip and rolling across the floor. I know it's another world. That's why I have to go. Staying here won't make me better. It'll keep me the same. Don't you want me to be more than just the best in Charlotte Amalie? Don't you want me to be great? Samuel rubbed the back of his neck, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the floor. His voice came low, heavy. Greatness sound good, son, but greatness have a price. Once you step on that plane, you're not just playing ball. You putting your whole life in somebody else's hands, and if they don't care for you like we do, if you get hurt, if you fail, what then? Shlomo's fists clenched at his sides. If I fail, at least I failed trying. At least I took the chance. I can't sit here and wonder what if for the rest of my life. That's worse than failing. The ball bumped against the wall and stopped, the silence stretching with it. Grandma Inez finally stopped rocking. She tapped her Bible once on her lap, the sound sharp as a gavel. Enough! Her eyes swept the room, steady and fierce. I raise Shlomo same way I raise you, Samuel, with discipline, with faith, with backbone. You worry he far? Every bird does leave the nest, but some birds only find their wings when the storm comes. The question is, will you let the boy fly, or will you clip his wings before he even try? Her words hung heavy, thicker than the night air. No one spoke. Shlomo's mother pressed her lips together, trembling. Samuel stared hard at the floor, his jaw working. Shlomo stood tall, chest heaving, eyes locked on his parents with a fire they had never seen before. Outside, the frogs sang louder, filling the silence the family couldn't break. Much later, the house had gone still. Shlomo sat on the edge of his bed, listening. From the next room came the low rumble of his parents' voices. He leaned close to the thin wall, heart pounding. His mother's voice came first, soft but sharp. He's too young, Samuel. He never even been off island alone. How we know these people real, how we know they'll protect him. Samuel's sigh followed, long and tired. I know. But I also know that fire in his eyes, same like when I was his age. I see it. If we hold him back, we might break something in him we can't fix. A pause. The sound of the bed creaking. I just don't want to lose my boy, she whispered. You won't lose him, Samuel said quietly. You'll just have to share him with the world. Shlomo's throat tightened. He lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling, tears pricking the corners of his eyes. Outside, the wind shifted, lifting the curtain like a gentle wave. In the other room, Grandma Inez's voice rose one last time, soft but steady through the half-closed door. Let the boy fly, she said. God always guides the wind. A hush settled. Shlomo's mother walked past his door a moment later. She stopped, gazing in at her son, the phone dim in his hand, the ball resting by his feet. She brushed a stray braid from his forehead, her voice barely a whisper. Lord, keep him safe. The frogs quieted for a heartbeat, as if the island itself listened. Shlomo smiled faintly through the sting in his eyes. Then I'll make you proud, he murmured. The fan turned slow above him, each creak marking the rhythm of his heartbeat. Outside, the surf whispered against the rocks, the night humming low around the house. He closed his eyes, whispering one last vow into the darkness. Nothing gonna stop me now, not even the world. And beside the door, the ball lay still, catching a sliver of moonlight. The first light of Sunday slipped through the window like a whispered promise. Roosters called from down the hill, and Charlotte Amalie slowly stirred awake. Shlomo was up before it all. He laced his cleats tight, tucked his braids beneath a headband, and picked up the ball waiting by the door, the same one that caught the moonlight beside his bed. Outside, the air was cool and damp, heavy with dew and the faint smell of sea salt. He jogged down the narrow road toward the school field, his steps steady, his heart full. Nothing gonna stop me now, he told himself. The pitch at Charlotte Amalie High was uneven but green, jeweled with dew. No teammates, no coach, just Shlomo, the ball, and the morning. He started juggling, light touches, one after another, faster, cleaner, sharper. He sprinted from post to post until his lungs burned, his breath tearing through the quiet. He set up 2 old flip-flops as cones and dribbled tight circles, cutting, spinning, sprinting again. Sweat ran into his eyes, but he didn't stop. Each breath sounded like the rhythm of a drum. He could hear Ronaldo's voice from a video he'd watched the night before. Talent without work is nothing. So he worked. The air shimmered with heat, though the sun had barely risen. Shlomo didn't notice the car pulling up by the far fence, didn't see the glint of sunlight off glass. He was too deep in rhythm, every breath syncing with the ball. From the shade of a mahogany tree, a man leaned against a black sedan. Luis Ferreira sipped coffee, calm and observant. The kind of man who'd seen 1,000 young players and could tell which ones had fire before they ever touched the ball. His linen shirt was crisp, his sunglasses caught the dawn. A faint scar traced his shin, proof that dreams sometimes leave marks. He watched quietly, nodding once as Shlomo repeated the same move again and again, missing, resetting, perfecting. Discipline in the making, Luis thought. He smiled faintly. The boy reminded him of himself, before life decided otherwise. He took another sip of coffee, and that's when he heard it. Laughter and footsteps coming down the hill. "Bruh, you crazy? It's Sunday!" Kareem's voice broke the rhythm. He stood at the fence, still in slippers, squinting against the morning light. Shlomo grinned, breathless. "Sunday don't stop greatness." Kareem laughed. "You different, man." He jogged onto the field. "Aight then, pass me the ball." Shlomo hesitated a second, then sent a sharp pass straight to Kareem's feet. From the car, Luis smiled behind his cup. Good. The boy is learning to pass. 2 more neighborhood boys wandered over, curious, then joined in. Soon the field buzzed with shouts and laughter. They ran plays, called out passes, challenged one another until the air itself felt alive. When Shlomo scored clean into the corner net, Kareem whooped, "Okay, Shlomo, I see you." That's when Luis clapped, once firm, deliberate. The boys turned, startled. Luis walked toward them, his steps even, his voice smooth with a soft Portuguese lilt. "Morning, gentlemen." Didn't expect to see so much ambition this early. Kareem's mouth dropped. "You the scout!" Luis smiled faintly. "Luis Ferreira, Sporting Lisbon Academy." The boys exchanged looks of awe. Shlomo wiped sweat from his brow, heart pounding. "I didn't know you'd come back," he said. "That's the point," Luis replied. "I wanted to see what you'd do when nobody was watching." Kareem grinned. "So this real? He really going Portugal?" Luis nodded. "If all goes right, yes. He'll be the first player from the Caribbean that Sporting has ever recruited." The boys gasped. Kareem asked, "What's Portugal like for someone like us?" Luis's eyes softened. "Beautiful. Old cities, narrow streets, football everywhere. But cold, colder than anything you've felt. The kind of cold that makes you question how much you really want this." One of the younger boys asked quietly, "Anybody from the islands ever make it there before?" Luis shook his head. "Not yet." Shlomo would be the first. The words hung heavy in the morning air. Then Kareem blurted out, "Be real with us, boss. They like black people there?" The question landed hard. Shlomo's heart kicked against his ribs. Luis lowered his sunglasses. His eyes were dark, thoughtful. "Listen, boys. When you walk in that locker room, your color will speak first. Before you open your mouth, before you touch the ball. Some will stare, some will doubt, and some will say things meant to break you." He paused. "You will hear words that cut. You will want to cry. You will want to quit. But you remember, you ain't the first to face it." He nodded slowly. Even Vinicius Jr., one of the best in the world, still hears chants that would crush a lesser man. And yet he keeps showing up, keeps scoring, keeps shining until the hate can't outshout his skill. Luis looked at Shlomo. That pain will come, son. And when it does, you take it, you feel it, but you don't let it own you. You use it. You turn it into something stronger. You make them see the player, not their prejudice. You make them remember you by your game. Shlomo swallowed hard. I will. Luis smiled slightly. Good, because that's why I came back. He hesitated, then added quietly, I used to play too. Thought I'd go pro until one bad tackle in high school ended it. All. Doctors said I was lucky to walk again, so now I find players who remind me of the dream I lost. Players who can finish what I couldn't. The boys stood silent. Shlomo looked him straight in the eye. Then I'll carry that dream with me. Luis nodded once. Then I've done my job. He handed Shlomo an envelope. Your paperwork, passport, medical clearance. I'll be in touch with your family soon. Be ready. He turned to go. Mr. Ferreira, Shlomo called out. Luis stopped. Thank you for seeing me. Luis smiled. It's not about me seeing you, Shlomo. It's about the world learning to. He walked back to his car and drove off, dust swirling behind him. Shlomo watched the dust settle where the car disappeared. The envelope in his hand suddenly felt heavy, like it carried the weight of every dream, every doubt. The sun was climbing higher, but his heart was racing faster. By evening, the field was empty again, the laughter gone, but the crickets had come alive, loud and steady, as if the island itself was waiting to see what he'd do next. That night, Shlomo sat on the porch steps, the envelope pressed against his chest. The moon shimmered over the harbor, turning the sea silver. Down the hill, someone's radio murmured an old calypso tune, soft and distant. Grandma Inez rocked slow in her chair, shawl wrapped tight, eyes on the horizon. The night breeze carried the sweet smoke of someone frying plantains, mixed with salt and sea air. Shlomo's voice was barely a whisper. Nana? She didn't turn. Yes, child. He hesitated. Luis came back today. He gave me the papers. Said I'll be the first from here. She nodded once. I should be happy, he said, voice breaking. But I'm scared. That stopped her rocking. The players there, they might not pass me the ball. They might keep me on the outside. I'll be the only one who looks like me. I don't know how to deal with that. He swallowed hard. I'm 16, Nana. I'll be alone. I don't know if I can handle the cold, the food, the people. What if they hate me before they even know me? Her eyes softened, but her voice stayed strong. You're a Caribbean boy, she said quietly. You learned this game barefoot on the street. When they don't pass, you go get the ball yourself. She reached over, her palm warm against his cheek. For a while, you'll have to play harder, practice longer, sleep less, study more. That's what greatness asks of you. You're gonna feel tired in your bones, lonely in your heart, and sometimes you'll ask yourself why you ever wanted this. But keep moving, child. Every drop of sweat is building the man you're meant to be. Her thumb brushed the edge of his jaw as her tone deepened. And when things finally start feeling easy, when you think maybe I got this now, that's when you watch yourself closest. Comfort can make a fool out of you. Success can rock you to sleep. She leaned closer, eyes glinting in the dim porch light. Don't ever relax and think the storm done pass. The storm only rests so it can come again stronger. And never look for the easy way. It's usually a trap waiting to take what you fought for. Shlomo sniffled, his shoulders trembling. You got a point to prove, she said. You walking into their house as the new boy trying to take somebody's place? They won't like it. That's fine. Stay respectful, stay humble, stay hungry. And when it hurts, you pray. When you can't pray, you whisper. God will still hear you. Her voice trembled, but never broke. It's going to be hard, Shlomo. The first year will break parts of you and rebuild others. Eat the food. You'll need strength more than comfort. And when that first game come, I'll be there, front row, cheering till my throat burn. He let out a small laugh through tears. You really think I can do this? She smiled, brushing his braids from his forehead. I know you can. You come from me. He leaned into her, his head resting on her knee. Don't tell Mom and Dad I'm scared. They'll change their minds. I won't tell them, she whispered. Fear don't make you weak. It just means your dream's big enough to scare you. They sat there, listening to the night breathe around them. The wind, the waves, the crickets singing louder now. When you step on that field, she said finally, remember the sea behind you, the drums in your blood, and my voice in your ear. You carry all of us, Shlomo. You are never alone. He looked out over the glowing harbor, tears still wet on his face. I'll make you proud, Nana. Her chair creaked, slow and steady. You already do. The crickets swelled, louder, as if the island itself was singing him forward. That night, Shlomo didn't sleep. The world had opened its door, but no one said walking through it would be easy. The morning after felt like a clock had started somewhere above the island, ticking, 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 3 weeks shrinking into days, then hours. Paper came first. Shlomo's mother spread documents across the dining table like a battlefield map. Birth certificate, school records, immunization card, 2 passport photos he took at a pharmacy where the clerk made him stand against a white wall and told him not to smile. She checked each form twice, then a third time, her finger tapping tiny boxes as if she could push fear out through the paper. Samuel stood behind her, arms folded, eyes steady. You sure that's everything? He asked. She nodded, not looking up. Everything the checklists say. She paused, then finally lifted her eyes to Shlomo. Don't lose this envelope. If you lose this envelope, you lose your flight. Yes, ma'am, Luis called early. His voice was an anchor, calm, practical. Embassy appointment confirmed for Thursday. Medical today at 2. Bring the forms and the photos. I've emailed the Academy's letter of invitation. Print it and keep it with you. Shlomo's phone buzzed with texts. Kareem. You leaving for real? Another teammate. Yo bro gonna miss you. A cousin he barely saw. Proud of you, lil man. The messages stacked like pebbles in his chest until he could feel the weight of them all. He didn't answer right away. He slipped his phone in his pocket and looked at his grandmother. Inez watched him from the doorway, her eyes a quiet lantern. Move strong, she said. We don't shuffle to our blessings. They went. The island was hot, but moving taxis weaving, tourists hunting souvenirs, a man with a cooler selling ice pops and shouting jokes. At the clinic, the air smelled like antiseptic and lemons. They drew Shlomo's blood, checked his ears and lungs, pressed a cold stethoscope against his chest. The doctor said, breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. And Shlomo tried to imagine he was already exhaling Portugal. Healthy, the doctor said, stamping a form. Take care of that knee. He tapped the patella, smiling. You're going to need it. The passport office was a different kind of heat. Slow lines, a fan clicking tiredly on the ceiling, a child crying somewhere behind a shoulder. Shlomo stood between his parents, the envelope clutched like a life raft, inching forward under fluorescent lights. When they finally reached the counter, the clerk peered over thick glasses. Traveling where? Portugal, Shlomo said. The clerk's eyebrows lifted. Big world, he murmured, and stamped the application with a smack that echoed in Shlomo's bones. The days ran like water downhill after that. Shlomo practiced every morning before the sun got mean, then in the evening until the sky turned violet. He passed more than he shot. He sprinted when he wanted to jog. He stretched until his hamstrings trembled. And when he could barely stand, he walked home with the ball tucked under his arm like something precious he couldn't trust anyone else to carry. On Tuesday, Coach James called him aside after drills. "You play different," Coach said, chewing on a toothpick. "Ball move faster today. That selfishness start to peel off." Shlomo dipped his head. "Trying to be better, Coach." Coach studied him. "Don't try. Be. When you get there, first thing they gon' test ain't your feet, it's your spirit. Pass early, win trust fast." "Yes, Coach." Kareem jogged over when practice ended, chest still heaving. "When you land, call me from the airport. Show me the snow if you see some." He laughed, then his face softened. "Don't forget us." Shlomo bumped his fist. "I can't. You in my first chapter." They hugged hard. No words for the rest. At night, the house changed shape. Samuel brought home a small suitcase from a friend. Sturdy, scuffed, dependable. "It not fancy," he said, "but it carry dreams just fine." His mother packed it like a blessing. Long socks, plain shirts, a better pair of gloves, a little jar of vapor rub because European cold's different, she said, half teasing, half warning. She slid in a folded paper with emergency numbers and a printed prayer in her neat handwriting. "Put this by your bed," she told him. "Read it when your chest feel tight." Inez contributed last. A scarf in green and white stripes she knitted herself, slightly uneven. Beautiful because of it. "Wear this first day," she said. "Let them see your colors." "Green and white, sporting colors," Shlomo said, touching the yarn. "Before sporting have them," she replied, smiling. "I been green and white for hope and truth." On the final Wednesday night before his flight, Shlomo needed the field one more time. He walked there alone. The moon hung like a coin over the pitch. He put the ball down at midfield and whispered, "One last." He dribbled until he felt the grass memorize him, little grooves and bumps he knew by heart. Then he took one long shot. The net billowed softly, and he closed his eyes. He could hear Portugal in the wind if he pretended, a low train of languages, a stadium breathing. He whispered, "I'm coming." The morning of the flight came gentle and serious. The house was quiet in that special way families get quiet when they're trying not to break. Shlomo dressed slow, plain hoodie, jeans, the green and white scarf knotted loose. He stood in the mirror and tried to see the man he was becoming. He saw a boy with 7 neat braids pulled back, skin dark and shining, teeth so white they made him look like he'd swallowed a small sun. He smiled without meaning to, then stopped, then smiled again. Samuel honked twice from outside. "Time," he called, voice steady, only a little too loud. They drove down to the airport through a morning that looked cleaner than other mornings. Maybe the light was just different because they were watching it. Taxi horns twined with church bells. A woman selling patties waved at them as they passed. At a stoplight, Samuel reached across the console and squeezed his son's shoulder. He didn't say anything, but Shlomo felt the words run through his hand. The airport smelled like coffee and Tide. People lined up with their lives in bags. Luis was already there, a clipboard under his arm, the same calm on his face. "You ready?" he asked. Shlomo nodded. "Yes, sir." Luis turned to Samuel and Shlomo's mother, speaking with that careful respect he never forgot. "I'll walk him through security. There's a staff member meeting him in Miami, then Lisbon. He will not be alone in any airport. I promise." His mother's jaw unclenched a little. Samuel blew out a breath he'd been holding for a week. Before anything else, they found a quiet edge near a window where the runway gleamed like a blade. Inez took Shlomo's hands and placed them together, palm to palm. "Bow your head, boy." He did. Her prayer rose low and strong, a river of words that washed over them all. "Father God, see this child that you lend to us. We return him to your keeping for a little time. Put walls of fire round him where we cannot go. Blind the eye of the enemy. Sweeten bitter tongues. Give him favor with men and mercy with those who don't know mercy. Make his bones strong, his mind clear, and his heart soft to you. And when the wind hit him cold, warm him from the inside with your spirit. Her voice trembled once, only once. Bring him home better than he leave. Amen, Shlomo whispered. Amen, echoed Samuel. His mother wiped both eyes at the same time, then laughed at herself for doing it. They hugged. They tried to keep it tidy and failed. The tidy fell apart into real. Samuel held Shlomo so hard his shoulder ached, then stepped back and pressed his forehead to his son's for a second, a brief masculine blessing. Go be a man I proud to meet again, he said. His mother smoothed his hoodie, then smoothed it again, even though it didn't need smoothing. Eat, she said. Sleep. Stretch. Speak up when you must. Don't try to carry loneliness by yourself. I won't, he said. Call me when you land. Call me if you sneeze. Call me if you don't sneeze. He laughed. Yes, ma'am. Inez took his face in both hands. What I tell you on the porch? He swallowed. Play harder, practice longer, sleep less, study more. Watch comfort, respectful, humble, hungry, pray when it hurts, whisper when I can't pray. And? Storm don't pass, storm rest and come again, he said, a small smile at the corner of his mouth. She nodded, proud. Go. Luis glanced at the clock. We should move. Security was metal trays and belts to unbuckle, and a stranger's gloved hands tapping the edges of his backpack. Shlomo put his shoes back on and looked over his shoulder. His family stood behind the glass. Inez lifted her hand. Samuel lifted his chin. His mother blew him a kiss and tried to make it look like a joke. It looked like a promise. He wanted to run back. He wanted to freeze the moment in place and put it in his pocket and take it with him. Instead, he turned and followed Luis. At the gate, Luis handed him a boarding pass, like it was the first page of a contract that mattered. Once you step on that plane, Luis said quietly, the work starts over. Everything you've done so far? It's only proof you're capable, not proof you're finished. I know, Shlomo said. Good. Miami first, then an overnight to Lisbon. Try to sleep. Tomorrow will be big. They boarded. Shlomo found his seat by the window and pressed his forehead to the glass. The runway stretched out like a future he could finally see. The engines roared. His stomach dropped as wheels left ground, and the island pulled back. Houses shrinking into toy squares, the harbor into a small, bright coin, the hills into a green hand waving goodbye. He watched until clouds swallowed everything. The flight from St. Thomas touched down in Miami just after noon, sunlight slicing through tall glass windows. Voices filled the terminal, English, Spanish, Creole, laughter, rolling wheels, boarding calls. Shlomo moved with the crowd through customs, his new passport clutched tight, until a flash of green stopped him. A man stood by the gate holding a white sign that read, Shlomo Mo Williams, Sporting Lisbon Academy. His jacket was the same deep emerald Shlomo had seen in old photos of Ronaldo, a golden lion stitched over the heart. Shlomo Williams? The man asked, stepping forward with a smile. Yes, sir. I'm Paulo Santos, he said, shaking his hand firmly. I work with Sporting Clube de Portugal. That's the full name, but everyone calls it Sporting Lisbon Academy. Coach Luis sent me to make sure you reach Portugal safe. His accent rolled soft and musical, Portuguese vowels curling through the air. You hungry? A little. Good, Paulo grinned. You'll need it. The next flight's almost 8 hours, and airplane food's never enough for a footballer. He gestured toward a cafe and then the nearby market. Grab whatever you like for the ride. Chips, gum, chocolate, whatever keeps you awake when the jet lag hits. Shlomo picked out a few things, sliding a pack of Skittles, gum, and a chocolate bar onto the counter. Paulo laughed. You've already learned the first rule of long flights. Sugar is survival. They found seats near the window, sandwiches in hand, watching the runway shimmer in the Miami heat. "So this your first trip off island?" Paolo asked. "Yes, sir." "Then you're about to see a city like no other," Paolo said. "Lisbon's one of the oldest in Europe, built on 7 hills, full of blue and white tiles, old trams, the smell of the ocean everywhere. From the top, you can see the whole river stretch out like it's pointing you home." He leaned back. "The academy's just outside the city, in Alcochete. Quiet place across the Tagus River. Modern training grounds, classrooms, dorms. Players come from all over, Africa, Brazil, Eastern Europe, but no one yet from the Caribbean. You'll be the first." Shlomo's chest lifted. "That's where Ronaldo started, right?" Paolo nodded. "Yes, 12 years old, straight from Madeira. Another island boy. Same fight I see in you." Shlomo smiled shyly. "What's it like?" "Training there?" Paolo's eyes lit. Intense. "Everything runs like a clock. Morning schoolwork, gym, 2 training sessions, film study, language lessons. Every pass you make is recorded. They push your mind as hard as your legs. It's not just a football school, it's a life school." He lowered his voice, thoughtful. "That's why sporting is special. Figo, Nani, Bruno Fernandes, all learned discipline there before fame ever found them. We don't sell dreams. We teach how to build them." Shlomo listened, heart thudding. He could almost see it, the green fields by the river, the stadium lights against the Portuguese dusk. Paolo noticed. "Feels big, huh?" Shlomo nodded. "Yeah, bigger than I thought." "That's good," Paolo said kindly. "If it didn't feel big, it wouldn't be worth flying for." He pushed a small pack of biscuits across the table. "Here, keep this for later." Never board a plane empty-handed. An announcement cracked through the speakers. "Flight 36 to Lisbon now boarding." Paolo stood, handed over a crisp boarding pass, and walked with him toward the gate. The late afternoon light spread gold across the floor. At the gate, he placed a hand on Shlomo's shoulder. "Once you step on that plane, don't look back too long. Every great player leaves something behind. But if your roots are strong, home always calls you back." Shlomo swallowed hard. "Thank you, sir. When you land, a driver from the academy will meet you," Paolo said. "He'll be wearing this jacket, Green Lion, Heartside." "That's family now." He adjusted the crest and smiled. "Try to rest. When you wake up, it'll be morning in Portugal, new air, new light, same sky above you." "Boa sorte," Paolo added softly. "That means good luck." "Boa sorte," Shlomo repeated, careful but proud. "Perfect." Paolo grinned. "Now go make your story worth the miles." Shlomo stepped through the jetway. Behind him, the hum of Miami faded into the hush of the cabin lights. The sky outside was still blue, but somewhere ahead it would turn night before he ever reached it. Through the window, Miami shrank to patches of gold and green, and the ocean opened wide, endless, like the space between who he'd been and who he was becoming. He thought about Inez's scarf folded neatly in his bag, about the smell of frying plantain drifting through the open window that last night. Home was still in his lungs, even at 30,000 feet. When he opened his eyes again, morning in Portugal would already be 5 hours ahead of home. He whispered the words Paolo had said, softly, almost a prayer. Green Lion, Heartside. It sounded like belonging. The captain's voice came over the intercom, low and steady. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing in Lisbon in 20 minutes. Local time is 7:42 a.m. Shlomo lifted his head from the airplane window. His neck ached, his mouth was dry, but what he saw pulled him fully awake. Outside, morning poured gold across the city. Rooftops glowed terracotta red, and beyond them, the Tagus River shimmered like polished glass. A single bridge stretched over it, long, endless, elegant. Lisbon. It didn't look real, not yet. The buildings seemed to climb hills made of light. The sky was pale blue and quiet, no salt in the air, no palm trees to break the wind. He pressed his forehead to the glass. "So this is it," he whispered. When the plane touched down, applause broke out in Portuguese, soft claps and cheerful voices. Shlomo smiled nervously and joined in, clapping once too, not wanting to seem out of place. The air inside the airport felt colder, crisper, like it carried more metal than salt. Voices bent in strange directions, vowels stretching and curling. He followed the crowd through immigration, his heart pounding as a tall officer examined his passport. The man stamped it with a solid thud. "Bem-vindo a Portugal," he said. Shlomo blinked. "Thank you." "Welcome," the officer repeated, grinning as he handed back the passport. The glass doors slid open, and Lisbon greeted him with a swirl of newness. The scent wasn't coffee and Tide like home. It was espresso, fresh bread, and rain on old stone. Cool air brushed against his face, and outside he could hear taxis honking near the curb, seagulls calling close to the water, and a woman laughing in a rhythm that sounded like music. He scanned the waiting crowd. Then he saw it, that familiar shade of green. A man in a black jacket with a golden lion crest raised a sign that read, "Sporting Clube de Portugal, Shlomo Mo Williams." He waved, stepping closer. The man was stocky, with kind eyes and a thick Portuguese accent. "You Shlomo?" "Yes, sir." "I'm Rui. I drive for the academy. Come, we go Alcochete." He led Shlomo outside. The cool air bit softly at his skin, carrying the smell of wet pavement and roasted nuts from a nearby cart. They loaded his suitcase into the van. Rui held the door open and gestured. "Sit, relax. You want music?" Shlomo smiled. "Sure." Rui tapped the screen, and a soft Fado song filled the van, Portuguese guitar, and a voice full of heartbreak. Shlomo didn't understand a word, but the sound reached something deep, familiar, longing mixed with pride. As they drove, Rui pointed out landmarks. "That bridge there, Ponte Vasco da Gama, 17 kilometers long, one of the biggest in Europe. See? Connects Lisbon to Alcochete." Shlomo leaned toward the window, eyes wide. The bridge curved over silver water that caught the morning light like glass. "You like football?" Rui asked with a grin. Shlomo laughed. "That's all I like." "Good answer." Rui nodded. "You see that?" He pointed toward the riverbank. "That's where Ronaldo trained. Every player touched that grass, they never forget." The van crossed the bridge, and the city slowly gave way to countryside. Open land, small houses, olive trees scattered like freckles on the hills. Finally, the gates appeared. Sporting Clube de Portugal, Academia de Alcochete. The letters gleamed silver against a white wall, and below them, the green lion reared proudly. Shlomo's breath caught. The van rolled through, past trimmed hedges and fields so green they looked painted. Boys in training kits jogged between sessions. Coaches barked orders in Portuguese. Whistles sliced through the air like sharp wind. Rui parked and turned in his seat. "You ready?" Shlomo nodded slowly. "I think so." They stepped out. The air smelled of grass, soap, and something electric. The quiet tension of ambition. Before following Rui inside, Shlomo pulled out his phone. The morning light hit the academy crest perfectly, the lion gleaming gold against the green. He took a few photos, the gate, the fields, the big mural of Ronaldo, and sent them to his family group chat. "Made it," he typed. "It's beautiful here." Within seconds, hearts and prayer emojis flooded back. His mother wrote, "Be safe." His father, "Do great things." And Inez, short and strong, "God go with you." He smiled, slipping the phone into his pocket, then followed Rui into the main hall. Glass walls framed the view of the fields. Trophy cases lined the corridor, glinting under soft lights. Shlomo stopped in front of a framed photo. Ronaldo at 15, arms wide, grin fierce. Next to him were Figo, Nani, Bruno Fernandes, all in the same green lion kit. "History," Rui said proudly. "Maybe one day you on that wall." Shlomo smiled nervously. That's the plan. They met a coach inside. Tall, salt and pepper hair, firm handshake. "Welcome, Shlomo. I'm Coach Duarte. You'll train with the under-17 first. Classes start next week. Language lessons every afternoon. Room assignments down the hall." He motioned to a slim boy leaning on a doorframe. "Mateus, show him to his dorm." Mateus was Brazilian, skin the color of honey, easy smile. "You from the islands, yeah?" "St. Thomas," Shlomo said. "Nice. Hot there, huh? Wait till winter. You gonna miss that sun bad," Mateus teased. Shlomo grinned. "Already do." They walked the hall together. Portuguese posters lined the walls. Força, Disciplina, Familia. Mateus glanced at him. "Don't worry. Everybody feel lost the first week. You learn fast. Just listen more than you talk." He opened the dorm door. 2 beds, a small window overlooking the training ground. On the far wall hung another crest, green lion, heart side. Shlomo dropped his bag and froze. On the bed lay a fresh green and white kit, folded perfectly, jersey, shorts, socks, shin guards, and boots gleaming under the sunlight. On the back of the jersey, bold white letters spelled out, Williams. 27. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. He ran his fingers across the fabric, tracing the letters like they were written in gold. The boots, real Nike Phantom Elites, the kind he'd only seen in highlight reels, sat beside them, spotless. He snapped a photo, heart pounding, and sent it to the family group chat with one word. "Look." Inez was the first to reply. "Glory to God." Then his mom, "That's my baby boy." And finally Samuel, "Now show them why you deserve it." Shlomo grinned, holding the jersey to his chest. "Come on," Mateus called from the door. "Coach Duarte said to bring you to the field. You can watch the morning session." They walked down to the pitch. The sun was higher now, catching the shimmer of dew on the grass. A squad of players was already in motion, passing drills, volleys, tight triangles of movement so fast it looked rehearsed. Shlomo stood on the sideline, his hands in his pockets. The rhythm was different here. Cleaner, colder, sharper. Every touch had purpose. The players barked commands in Portuguese, one word at a time, like the ball spoke back to them. Coach Duarte stood near the center circle, shouting instructions. "Mais rápido! Toca! Movimento!" Shlomo didn't know the words, but he knew the meaning. Faster, touch, move. A long pass sliced across the field. One of the older boys flicked it behind his leg without looking. Another trapped it midair and fired a volley into the top corner. The net snapped. Shlomo's chest tightened. Excitement tangled with intimidation. He wasn't scared, exactly. Just aware. Aware that this was different. That this was the world he'd prayed for, and that he was standing on its edge. The whistle blew. Players jogged over to the benches, laughing, hydrating, stretching. No one noticed him yet. But one day, they would. He looked down at the crest on the extra kit folded over his arm. Green lion, heart side, he smiled to himself. Soon, he whispered. The morning came wrapped in fog and nerves. Shlomo woke before his alarm, heart already racing, sunlight still soft against the dorm window. The air was thin and sharp, a chill that crawled beneath his skin and settled deep, like the island warmth had been wrung right out of him. He sat up and looked at the uniform hanging by his bed, his uniform still spotless from yesterday. Williams, 27. The green and white stripes looked almost too sharp to touch. He texted home before anything else. "First day. Wish me strength." Within seconds, Inez replied, "Strength already yours." His mother added, "Show heart," And Samuel, ever brief, remember who you are. Shlomo smiled. He slipped into his kit, laced the new boots tight, and looked at himself in the mirror. For a moment, he didn't see the island boy. He saw the man he was trying to become. The locker room buzzed with energy, the slap of hands, the scrape of cleats, bursts of Portuguese that flew like music. "Bom dia," Shlomo said carefully, testing the greeting Rui had taught him. A few players nodded, half smiling. One of them, tall and wiry, replied, "Morning," with a thick accent. Another boy, blond and freckled, looked him up and down, muttered something in Portuguese that made his friend snicker. Shlomo caught one word, turista, tourist. He didn't need translation. He knew a dismissal when he heard one. Mateus came up behind him, clapping him on the shoulder. "Ignore them. Every newcomer gets the same look. They sizing you up, seeing if you're real." "I'm real," Shlomo said quietly. Mateus grinned. "Then prove it." Outside, the fog had thinned to mist. The field glistened under the early light. Cones and nets were already set up. Coach Duarte stood in the center, clipboard in hand, voice carrying sharp across the turf. "Warm up! Circles! Two-touch only!" The players broke into motion like a single body with 30 legs. Passes snapped, boots thudded. The rhythm was machine-like efficient, beautiful, ruthless. Shlomo joined the second group, nerves buzzing in his chest. His first touch felt fine, a little heavy, but steady. The second, a misread. The ball rolled too far. A teammate sighed, collected it, and moved on without a word. "Again," the coach barked. They rotated through drills, quick triangles, possession boxes, sprint relays. The language barrier hit hard. Commands flew too fast. By the time Shlomo reacted, the ball was gone. A sharp voice cut through the air. "Pass! Number 27! Don't hold the ball! Move it!" He looked up, Coach Duarte's eyes on him. Not angry. Just measuring. Shlomo swallowed hard and tried to adjust. On the next play, he released the ball too early. It skipped away, intercepted cleanly by a boy named Hugo, one of the team captains. "Calma," Hugo said with a smirk. "Slow down, island boy." "This not your beach kickball, eh?" Laughter rippled through the line. Even a coach raised a brow before looking away. Shlomo's ears burned. He wanted to bite back, to show them. The next time he got the ball, he didn't think he cut right, feinted left, and went for a solo run. He got past one defender, then two, and lost it on the third. Coach's whistle shrieked. "Stop!" The field froze. Coach Duarte's voice was calm but heavy. "You play like you still alone in your backyard. This is not a backyard." A few players dropped their eyes. Others nodded quietly. Coach walked closer. "Here. We build trust before glory. You understand?" "Yes, sir," Shlomo said. His throat was tight. "Good. Learn first. Shine later." The drill restarted. Shlomo jogged to his place, chest burning. Every shout, every pass, every cheer for someone else pressed against his ribs. But somewhere in that ache, a spark lit. By the end of practice, his calves were cramping and his pride bruised. But something inside him had shifted. When practice ended, Shlomo lingered on the field, the others laughing their way back to the locker room. The cold had crept into his fingers. But he didn't move. He could still hear Coach Duarte's voice echoing. "Learn first, shine later." The sky had turned a pale gray, clouds stretching like bruises over the horizon. A gust of wind carried the smell of wet turf and sweat. For the first time since arriving, he felt small, like all that island confidence had been left somewhere over the Atlantic. He knelt, picked up a bit of grass, and rubbed it between his fingers. It wasn't like home, thicker, colder, damp with dew. Even the grass different, he thought bitterly. He closed his eyes. He could almost hear Inez in his head. "You don't need them to see your worth. Just keep working until they can't ignore you." He stood, exhaled, and whispered, "I'll make them see me." In the locker room, laughter bounced off the walls as the others showered and joked in Portuguese. Shlomo sat in silence, untying his boots slowly, the laces stiff with dried grass. He reached into his duffel and felt the edge of something soft, Nana Inez's handkerchief, still faintly smelling of nutmeg and rosewater. He pressed it to his face and breathed in deep. "You watching, Nana?" he whispered. "I know you watching." He folded it carefully, tucked it into the inside pocket of his jacket, and headed back toward the dorms. Outside, the sun was setting low and gold across the practice fields. The air felt colder now, the kind of cold that didn't ask permission before it stayed. That night, long after lights out, he was still awake. The window fogged with chill. The pitch lights outside glowed faintly through the mist. He stood in the hallway, ball at his feet, and started juggling. 1 touch, 2, 10, 20, 100. The sound echoed softly off the dorm walls. Tap, 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 steady as breathing. He whispered under his breath, "Green Lion, heart side." The ball hit the ceiling, dropped, and rolled across the floor. He caught it under his foot, smiled faintly, and whispered again, "I'll earn it." The morning came slower than the last. No fog this time, just a thin ribbon of light curling through the blinds, cutting across the small dorm room. Shlomo blinked awake, his muscles stiff and sore from yesterday's drills. Every stretch reminded him of what he didn't know yet. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten much since the flight, too nervous, too distracted. Now hunger felt like an ache that went bone deep. He pulled on his tracksuit and followed the smell of food down the hall. The cafeteria was already buzzing. Voices rose and fell in fast Portuguese rhythm laughter, trays clattering, chairs scraping tile. The smell hit him first. Strong coffee, butter, something sweet he couldn't name. He slowed near the counter, eyes scanning the tray's golden rolls of bread, small pastries dusted with sugar, slices of cheese, and pale yellow eggs that looked different somehow. He leaned closer. "That's breakfast?" he whispered. Mateus appeared beside him, balancing a tray like it was nothing. "You expecting rice and beans?" he teased. Shlomo smirked. "Was expecting food that don't look like dessert." Mateus laughed, sliding a pastel de nata onto Shlomo's tray. "Portuguese breakfast, brother. Bread with butter, coffee, pastry. Simple, fast, fuel, not feast." Shlomo looked at the flaky tart, confused. "Where's the real food? Saltfish? Johnny cake? Something that stick to your ribs? You in Lisbon now," Mateus said with a grin. "Here we eat light, talk loud, and run all day." They found a spot near the window overlooking the practice pitch. The sun was spilling over the grass, catching bits of dew like stars. Shlomo picked up the tart and took a cautious bite. The crust shattered, crisp, buttery, and the inside was warm and soft, custard smooth like island pudding. Sweet, but not too sweet. He blinked. "Ait, that ain't bad." Mateus grinned. "Told you. Pastel de nata, our national treasure. You survive the food, you survive Portugal." A few of the boys at the next table laughed. One of them called out, "How you like it, island boy?" Shlomo shrugged, mouth full. "I could eat 10 of these." The boys laughed again, but this time it wasn't mocking, it was easy, familiar. One even nodded, offering him a packet of butter. Progress. He reached for the coffee next galon. Mateus said it was called. Mostly milk, a little espresso. He took a sip, grimaced at the bitterness, then went in for another just to prove a point. "Good?" Mateus asked. "Good enough," Shlomo said, wiping his mouth. "But it ain't no bush tea." Mateus laughed so hard he nearly dropped his cup. Behind the counter, the cafeteria lady, short, round, with gray streaks in her hair, noticed Shlomo struggling with his Portuguese. When he brought back his tray, he tried what he'd practiced from a sign on the wall. Obrigado, he said slowly. Her eyes softened. "Muito bem," she said, smiling wide. "Good. Thank you." Then she reached under the counter, pulled out another pastel de nata, and slipped it onto his tray. "For the brave one," she said. Shlomo's grin spread wide enough to show all his perfect teeth. "Obrigado," he repeated, this time smoother. As he walked away, Mateus bumped his shoulder. "See? You learning. You keep that up, they'll love you before the season start." Shlomo laughed. Long as they pass the ball, too. When he sat back down, he looked out over the field again. Boys were already warming up, green kits flashing against the grass. His reflection glimmered faintly in the window. The island boy in a foreign land, pastry crumbs on his sleeve, hope in his chest. He thought of Inez then, her voice steady and strong. "Eat the food because you need it to be stronger." He took another bite, slower this time, letting the warmth settle in. Maybe this was how belonging started, not with applause or recognition, but with small things. A new word spoken right, a smile earned, a meal finished. Coach Duarte entered the cafeteria just then. The noise dipped. His presence carried quiet authority, like a tide that pulled the room inward. He paused beside Shlomo's table, eyes flicking from the empty plate to the crumbs. "Good," he said in that same even tone. "You learn to finish what's given." He started to walk away, then stopped, half-turned. "Now let's see if you can do the same on the field." The boys at nearby tables snickered, but Shlomo just smiled. The sting didn't reach him this time. He pushed back his chair, stood, and said under his breath, "Yes, coach, I can." That afternoon, when they jogged out to the pitch, the air smelled of cut grass and sweat. The sun was high and the field burned bright. Shlomo's stomach felt full not just with food, but with quiet fire. For the first time since he'd arrived, the cold didn't bite as hard. He ran a hand across the crest on his. Chest green lion, heart sighed, and whispered, "Let's begin." The air on the pitch that morning carried something sharp, not just the chill, but competition, the kind that pricked your skin before the whistle even blew. Shlomo jogged out with the team, the sun still low, burning pale gold through thin clouds. His body felt sore, but ready. He'd been studying the way they passed, the words they shouted, the rhythm of European football. Coach Duarte stood at midfield, clipboard tucked under one arm. "We scrimmaged today," he said. 2 halves, 20 minutes each. Play hard, play smart, no excuses." Shlomo's heartbeat quickened. This was it, his chance to prove he wasn't just some island tourist. He was placed with the green bibs again. Hugo, the team captain, wore white. Of course he did. From the first whistle, the game moved fast, too fast. Boots thudded against turf, Portuguese commands slicing through the air. Shlomo sprinted, tracked, adjusted. The first touch came quick. Mateus fired him a pass. Shlomo trapped it clean. He looked up and saw Hugo pressing hard, smirk already curling. "Show me what you got, island boy," Hugo taunted, closing in. Shlomo faked left, pushed right, but Hugo read him, clipped his ankle just enough to throw him off. Shlomo stumbled, nearly fell. The ball rolled free. "Soft," Hugo barked, laughing. "Maybe you should stick to sand." The snickers from a few teammates stung worse than the bruise forming on his leg. Shlomo's pride flared hot. His fists tightened. He wanted to shove back, to remind them who he was, but Inez's voice cut through his anger like a whistle from far away. "Never let pride make you stupid. Storms don't win games." He exhaled, stood straight, and jogged back into position. Coach Duarte's voice carried across the field. "Play on! Control yourself, 27." The game went on. Shlomo adjusted, passing more, talking less. Then came a fast break, Mateus sprinting down the right. Shlomo saw the lane, darted into space, hand raised. Mateus crossed. Shlomo met the ball mid-stride one touch and sent it clean across to Juan, who slammed it into the net. The net snapped. Cheers erupted. For a moment, Shlomo forgot everything. The insults, the stares lost in the rush of team. Even Coach Duarte clapped once. "That's how you play together," but Hugo wasn't done. Minutes later, another collision, this one harder. Shlomo hit the ground, the turf scraping his elbow raw. Hugo loomed over him. "Welcome to Europe," he muttered. Something in Shlomo's chest cracked. He pushed himself up slow, eyes locked on Hugo's. Every part of him wanted to swing to silence that grin, but something steadier held him still. He brushed off the dirt and said evenly, "You'll remember me soon enough." Hugo's grin faltered for half a second. Practice ended in silence. The boys filed off toward the locker room. Shlomo lingered again, grass stains on his kit, pride aching but not broken. He jogged one more lap around the field, breathing in the cold. The sunset had started to bleed orange over the rooftops. "Learn first, shine later," he whispered. The classroom that afternoon was just as brutal in a different way. "Hoye," said Professora Silva, smiling. "We learn verbs, serein estar, to be." Shlomo tried to follow, copying words from the board. His accent made the other boys snicker. "You su," he began, hesitating. "Say it louder, Shlomo," the teacher encouraged. "You so. Jogador de futebol?" The room laughed, the sound bouncing off the walls. One boy whispered, "He think he Ronaldo already." Shlomo's hand froze on the page. The pencil shook slightly. Professor Silva's voice softened. "Very good. But remember, you are not only a football player, you are also a student, and a man who learns fast." The room quieted. Shlomo looked up, meeting her eyes. There was no mockery there, only belief. "Obrigado," he said quietly. She smiled. "De nada." That night the drizzle came soft but steady. The field lights glowed through the mist like halos. Shlomo stepped out onto the pitch after everyone was gone, hoodie pulled up, ball at his feet. His muscles burned, but he didn't care. Each touch was sharper, angrier, cleaner. Tap, tap, tap. The rain slicked the turf, clinging to his shoes. He moved faster, replaying the scrimmage in his head, the shove, the taunts, the laughter. He kicked harder. The ball slammed into the back of the net with a wet snap. He bent over, hands on knees, breathing hard, rain running down his face like tears he refused to shed. He thought of home, of the uneven field behind his grandmother's house, the smell of salt in the air, the sound of Inez calling from the porch. "You gon' fall. But if you get up right after, they can't count it as defeat." He stood tall again, chest heaving. He whispered into the night, "You'll remember me." The rain answered in rhythm, steady and patient. The next morning, Hugo brushed past him in the hallway, shoulder knocking his. Shlomo didn't flinch. "Careful," Hugo muttered. Shlomo turned, calm but unblinking. "Always am." And for the first time, Hugo didn't have a comeback. The bus hissed to a stop outside the stadium, and for a heartbeat, Shlomo forgot to breathe. The pitch glowed under a pale morning sky, a deep emerald carpet lined with lightning white paint. He crouched, brushed the grass with his fingertips. It was soft, slick, alive. Back home, the dirt was stubborn, gritty, left your socks rust-stained. This felt like a stage, for Nana, for home, for Ronaldo, he whispered. The locker room smelled of liniment and detergent. Metal benches clanged under shifting weight. Portuguese flew like darts across the room. Shlomo laced his boots slowly, heart drumming. His jersey, William stitched bold across the back, lay heavy with expectation. Mateus whispered, "Relax, brother. Just play." Hugo's grin cut through the noise. "Relax? This the big day. He ain't ready." A boy across the room chimed in, "Maybe he can dance for the crowd." More laughter. Hugo leaned forward. "They call you the next Ronaldo? Please. Ronaldo was a lion. You look like a lamb." Shlomo looked up, jaw tight. "We'll see." Hugo smirked. "We will." When they stepped out, the stands were already buzzing. Flags waved, vendors shouted. The other team, blue and white kits, jogged in crisp formation across the pitch. Luis stood by the tunnel, sporting jacket zipped, eyes on Shlomo. He nodded once, not a smile, but a silent anchor. Shlomo touched the grass again. This is it. He thought of Ronaldo posters on his wall back in St. Thomas, thought of barefoot drills under Caribbean sun. Ronaldo wouldn't freeze. The whistle sliced the air. The match erupted. Shouts, boots, whistles, the thud of ball on turf. Everything moved faster than training. Shlomo's first touch skidded away, stolen clean. Groans rippled from the stands. Coach Duarte barked, "Move quicker, 27!" 5 minutes later, he got the ball again. Hugo streaked into space, screaming for a pass. "Cross! Now!" Shlomo hesitated. Blink, then ripped a shot. The keeper punched it out with ease. "Pass the ball, man!" Hugo shouted, arms wide. Shlomo jogged back, stomach tightening. That flicker of selfishness had cost them. By the 20-minute mark, Shlomo was drowning. Every step felt heavier. His chest burned. He could feel his breakfast sitting like a stone. The crowd started chanting for Hugo after his last breakaway. Then Shlomo heard it faint from the sideline. "Olha o macaco! Corre macaco!" He didn't understand every word, but he caught that one. Monkey. The air left his lungs, his chest locked tight. He froze for half a second, then forced his body to keep moving, pretending not to hear. But the word echoed. Louder, louder, like thunder crawling under his skin. He bent for a corner and his stomach lurched. Acid rose. Mateus touched his back. "You okay?" Shlomo nodded, but his face had gone pale. At the 30-minute mark, Coach Duarte's voice ripped through the air. "Number 27 off!" Shlomo jogged toward the sideline, head swimming. The stadium blurred. Halfway to the bench, he veered toward the tunnel, then sprinted. He reached the corridor behind the dugout and doubled over, vomiting into a trash bin. His hands shook. Sweat chilled on his skin. He'd never thrown up during a game in his life. From the tunnel, Hugo's voice floated in, smug. "Should have stayed on the beach, island boy." Shlomo spat, wiped his mouth, and sank against the cool wall. He didn't move. On the field, Hugo scored. The crowd roared his name. Sporting rallied, scored twice, won 2-1. The locker room afterward was loud with victory. Water bottles popping, music blasting, Hugo the loudest. Shlomo changed in silence, stomach still weak. No one met his eyes. He slipped out a side door before Luis could stop him. The stadium was nearly empty, floodlights throwing long shadows across the pitch. Shlomo sat on a low step, head in his hands. Luis appeared quietly, hands in his jacket pockets. "Rough match," he said. Shlomo didn't look up. "I threw up, Luis." "On the field. That's never happened to me, not once." Luis's voice softened. "Pressure does strange things. Today wasn't about skill. It was about weight. You're trying to carry an island, a dream, and a name. Too much for one match." Shlomo's throat tightened. "I wanted to make you proud. Nana proud. Ronaldo never—" Luis crouched beside him. "Ronaldo wasn't Ronaldo overnight. He failed. He got booed. What made him great was surviving nights like this. You can too." He stood. "Call your Nana. She'll remind you who you are." The dorm was quiet that night. Rain slid down the window like threads of glass. Shlomo lay in the dark, staring at his phone before pressing call. "Nana?" Her voice came warm, steady, but sharp with knowing. "I've been waiting on you, boy." I threw up, Nana. On the field. They won, and I did nothing. Some of the fans—" He stopped. "I know," she said softly. "I know that word. I know that look. You don't gotta finish it." "It never happened before," he whispered. "I've never been sick in a game." She inhaled slow, deep. "That's not weakness. That's your body telling you how heavy the world feels on your shoulders." He covered his eyes. "It hurts, Nana. I wanted to make you proud." "You already did," she said. "You already are. But you forgot to see it. You out there wearing our name. That's pride enough. That's history. He sobbed quietly. "Let it out," she said. "Cry if you need. Then tomorrow, get up and run again. When they try to break you, you rise. That's who you are." She paused, her tone turning firm. "You, my green lion. Play like the sun watching you. Make them see what they tried to ignore." He laughed through tears. "You always know what to say. I know storms, boy. And I know sunshine when I see it. Now rest them legs. Tomorrow waiting." Shlomo hung up, staring at the rain beyond the window. His stomach was still hollow, but the words had settled like warmth in his chest. He whispered, "Tomorrow, I start again." Outside, the stadium lights glowed faint through the mist, like small, stubborn fires refusing to go out. The sky was still half asleep when Shlomo slipped out of the dorm. Fog rolled low across the academy grounds, pale and ghost-like, curling between the goalposts. The air smelled of wet earth and fresh bread from the cafe down the hill. Somewhere, a church bell tolled 6 times, quiet, steady, like the heartbeat of the city. The cold stung his cheeks, but his mind was clear. He jogged toward the field, breath clouding in front of him, boots whispering against the damp grass. Each step echoed Nana's words, "You, my green lion, play like the sun watching you." He started slow, jogging laps around the pitch, counting his breaths, then faster and faster. Within minutes, his lungs burned, legs trembling, but he didn't stop. He ran until the guilt and fear bled out through sweat. When the sun finally broke through the fog, its light hit his face like fire. And for the first time since arriving in Portugal, Shlomo smiled. He wasn't running from anything now. He was running toward it. By the time the rest of the academy woke, Shlomo was already drenched in sweat, stretching by the sidelines. A groundskeeper pushing a wheelbarrow of cones paused. "You here early, Garoto?" Shlomo smiled faintly, breath still ragged. "So estou compensando por ontem," he said, just making up for yesterday. The man chuckled. "Keep doing that, and you'll make up for tomorrow too." The low hum of delivery scooters drifted through the air. Birds wheeled above the training pitch, slicing through the fading mist. Classes started at 9. Shlomo sat near the front, notebook open, trying to follow every word. Through the window, he could see red-roofed houses stacked like puzzle pieces down the hill to the Tagus River, glinting under the morning sun. In those first weeks, the language felt like a storm, verbs crashing, vowels stretching, sentences running too fast to grab. Once, when the teacher asked him to read aloud, his tongue tangled on a verb. The class laughed, not cruelly, but enough to sting. That night, Shlomo stayed up translating every page. He made a list in the corner of his notes. Bola, ball, força, strength, acreditar, believe. By mid-month, he could hold short conversations. He ordered breakfast in Portuguese, greeted his teachers in Portuguese, and only spoke English when calling home. "Você fala bem, Shlomo," his teacher said one morning. "You speak well." He grinned. "Obrigado, professora. Still learning, always learning," she replied. He liked that. When practice began later that morning, Shlomo was sharper, not louder, not cockier, just focused. His touches were clean, his passes crisp. He listened to every instruction Coach Duarte threw at him. No reaction, no pride. Hugo watched from across the field, brow furrowed. "Island boy got something to prove," he muttered. Mateus nudged him. "Better watch your spot, then." Hugo scoffed, but his laugh came thin. Over the next few weeks, Shlomo kept the same rhythm, early mornings before anyone else arrived, classes in between, nights reviewing match footage until his eyes burned. He rewatched Ronaldo highlights again, not for the goals this time, but for the spaces between, the patience, the timing, the hunger. He realized greatness wasn't flash. It was repetition. It was pain disguised as discipline. One night, his mother sent a photo of the sea from back home, the same blue that had watched him grow. He stared at it for a long time before whispering, "Soon." Luis noticed. One morning, as Shlomo finished wind sprints under the rising sun, Luis appeared at the sideline, coffee in hand. "You trying to run your guilt away?" Shlomo smiled faintly. "Trying to catch up to my dream." Luis nodded, eyes proud but cautious. "Good. But remember, you can't just chase it. You gotta let it catch you sometimes." Shlomo frowned, confused. "What you mean?" "Means stop fighting yourself. Play free." Luis turned to leave, then added, "And don't forget, fog lifts. It always does." At lunch, the cafeteria buzzed with noise and clatter. Shlomo joined Mateus and a few others. "Paso sal," one of them said. Without thinking, Shlomo handed over the salt. The table froze, then burst into laughter and applause. Mateus grinned. "See? He's one of us now." Shlomo smiled, small but real. For once, the laughter wasn't at him. It was with him. That afternoon, something clicked during drills. A midfielder tried to slip a pass past him. Shlomo read it early, intercepted cleanly, and returned it in one smooth touch. Even Hugo gave a short, reluctant nod. Coach Duarte shouted, "That's better! Isso é futebol! That's football!" Shlomo's chest swelled, but he said nothing, just kept moving. That evening, he returned to his dorm, body aching but spirit light. He looked at the calendar pinned to his wall. The next academy match circled in red. He whispered, "I'm ready now." Then he reached for his phone and recorded a short message for Nana. "Morning, Nana. Just wanted to say, I didn't throw up today." He laughed softly. "Actually, I scored 2 in training. Nothing big, but it felt like the sun came back out." He paused, looking out the window at the fading light. "Thanks for believing before I did." He hit send and sat back, watching the sky dim over Lisbon. Moments later, his phone buzzed. Nana's voice note came through, soft as prayer. "Proud of you, Green Lion. I told you the fog would lift." Outside, crickets began their quiet chorus. The city slowed, lights flickering across the Tagus like reflections of distant dreams. Shlomo sat at his desk, writing 3 words on a piece of paper. Coração, foam, humildade, heart, hunger, humility. He folded it neatly and tucked it under his boots. Tomorrow he'd need them all, and somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, tomorrow the world would be watching. Morning crept over Lisbon in a soft gold hush. The academy was still half asleep, the hallways echoing faint footsteps and the distant hum of a vacuum cleaner. Shlomo stood in front of the mirror, fastening his shin guards. His hands shook just a little. His uniform hung crisp against his frame, green and white, his last name Williams stitched bold across the back. He'd spent the night polishing his boots until they gleamed like wet glass. From outside, the muffled rhythm of cleats on concrete grew louder. The smell of turf and coffee floated through the window. It was game day. The locker room buzzed like a live wire. Teammates laughed, shouted, hyped each other up. But the sound hit Shlomo differently, louder, sharper, cutting through his nerves. Hugo sat 2 benches over, lacing his boots. He caught Shlomo's reflection in the mirror and smirked. "Don't freeze again, island boy." Cameras watching this time. A few boys laughed under their breath. Shlomo just kept tying his laces, one loop, then another, whispering to himself, Coração, foam, humildade. Mateus clapped him on the back. "Ignore him. Just play your game." Shlomo nodded, but his stomach still coiled tight. When they stepped onto the pitch, the stadium air felt heavier than ever. Fans packed the stands. Parents, scouts, and a few journalists from the local paper. The crowd hummed like a heartbeat beneath the sun. Shlomo took one deep breath. The grass was different here, tighter, smoother, a perfect emerald. He ran his fingers over it, grounding himself. The whistle blew, and everything sped up. For the first 15 minutes, Shlomo played clean. Simple touches, sharp passes. He didn't force anything, didn't try to be the hero. He stayed patient. He trusted the rhythm. Then came the test. A long ball floated down the right side. Shlomo sprinted, body leaning into the wind. He trapped it, eyes already scanning the box. Hugo was in the center, waving, wide open. The crowd rose, anticipation thick in the air. For one heartbeat, everything slowed. Ronaldo's words echoed in his head from an old interview. Talent gets you noticed. Teamwork keeps you there. He could take the shot. He wanted to take the shot. But this time he passed. The ball curved perfectly, slicing through defenders. Hugo met it in stride and buried it into the top corner. The stadium erupted. Shlomo didn't raise his arms. He just exhaled, hands on his knees, grinning to himself. It wasn't his goal, but it felt better than any he'd ever scored. Hugo jogged back, chest heaving. For a second, their eyes met. Hugo nodded once, no words, just respect. On the sideline, Luis stood still, hands in his pockets, pride softening the corners of his mouth. By halftime, the coach's voice was thunder and joy. "That's how you play, gentlemen. That's team football." Shlomo sipped from his bottle, breathing hard. Mateus elbowed him. "You finally passed, eh?" Shlomo laughed. "Guess I did." The second half was smoother. Shlomo moved with confidence, reading the game like music. When the final whistle blew, they'd won 2-0. The team celebrated, shouting in Portuguese, hugs and high fives all around. Shlomo felt the weight in his chest lift. Not from the score, but from the lesson. He wasn't chasing approval anymore. He was earning belonging. Coach Duarte found him before he could leave the field. "Good game, Williams." His tone was firm but approving. That's the kind of player Sporting Lisbon builds. Keep that discipline, and you'll go far. Shlomo's grin cracked wide. "Obrigado, coach." As he made his way toward the tunnel, Luis lingered nearby, half in shadow. He didn't speak right away, just watched Shlomo laughing with his teammates. Finally, he murmured to himself, "That's the boy Ronaldo once was." Then he smiled and slipped away. Later that night, back in his dorm, Shlomo replayed the clip, the pass, the goal, the roar of the crowd. The Academy's official page had already posted it online. "Williams, the team player we've been waiting for." He smiled, pride glowing quietly behind tired eyes. Then his phone buzzed Nana again. "See? The sun watching you now, Green Lion." He laughed softly, laying back against the pillow. Outside, Lisbon glowed under the night sky, loud, alive, full of promise. He whispered, "Obrigado." "Thank you." Just as his eyes began to close, the phone buzzed again, a new message. From Luis. "Check your email in the morning. Big news." Shlomo blinked, heart kicking once in his chest. He stared at the screen, a slow smile spreading. Sleep came easy that night. Because for the first time, the world wasn't just watching, it was waiting. The buzz of Shlomo's phone cut through the gray Lisbon dawn. He blinked, still half dreaming, before rolling over and squinting at the screen. One new email. From Coach Duarte, Sporting Lisbon Academy. Subject, official selection, Iberia Youth Cup, Spain. He rubbed his eyes and read it again, slower this time. Shlomo Williams, congratulations. You've been selected to represent Sporting Lisbon U18 at the Iberia Youth Cup in Madrid, departure tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pack your passport, boots, and focus. Coach Duarte. For a moment, he just sat there. The radiator hissed softly, and his breath fogged the air. Then the words hit. His heart started pounding so hard it hurt. Iberia Youth Cup, he whispered. He knew that name every academy kid did. The biggest youth tournament in Southern Europe, the place where scouts from Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Manchester United filled the stands, where one good performance could change a life. 23 matches. Rain, bruises, nights under floodlights, all leading to this. Each game built his name a little more until even the senior coaches started to take notice. And now, finally, the call had come. He ran his hand over his face, laughing under his breath. "Spain," he whispered again. "I'm going to Spain." He jumped to his feet, phone already in hand. Shlomo. "Nana, I got called up. Spain, Nana, the Iberia Youth Cup." Shlomo. "Tell Mom and Dad." He waited, bouncing on his toes, but no reply came. He grinned and hit FaceTime. The screen flickered, and there she was. Grandma Inez, robe tied tight, silver hair tucked under her scarf, sitting in her rocking chair on the porch. The morning light spilled behind her, catching the sea at a distance. She squinted. "Shlomo, you calling me this early? Something happened?" He laughed so hard he could barely speak. "Nana, listen, they picked me. For Spain, the Iberia Youth Cup. Coach just emailed me." She froze, rocking chair creaking to a stop. "Spain?" "Yes, ma'am. I'm representing Sporting Lisbon. You remember Ronaldo? He played there when he was my age." Her eyes widened, then softened. My. Look at God. You really gone far now." Then she straightened, serious again. "You tell your parents yet?" He shook his head, grinning. "Not yet." "Well, go on then. They working hard for you. Let them hear it from your own mouth." "I will. But I had to tell you first." That made her smile, small, proud, full of love. "You remember what I tell you?" "Always." She nodded slowly. "When they try to break you, get up again. And don't lose yourself in the noise, promise me." He swallowed hard. "I promise." "Then go, my green lion. The sun watching you now." The call ended, her voice echoing like a prayer. He stood there, phone pressed to his chest, grinning and crying at the same time. "Spain," he whispered. "Just like Ronaldo." He banged on Mateus's door. "Bro, wake up!" Mateus groaned. "What? They picked me? For what?" "The Iberia Youth Cup." Mateus shot up, eyes wide. "No way! Me too!" Shlomo froze. "You serious?" "Yeah." "Coach said we leave tomorrow. Hugo's coming too." Shlomo chuckled, shaking his head. "Of course he is." Mateus grinned. "You ready?" Shlomo smiled back. "I was born ready." The next morning, the bus rolled through the fog like a ghost ship. Boys half asleep, headphones in, sunlight trying to break through the clouds. Shlomo sat by the window, staring at the city sliding by. His reflection flickered in the glass. Tired eyes, steady jaw. Nana's voice still echoed in his head. "When they try to break you, get up again." By the time they reached Madrid, the day blazed with sun. The stadium shimmered in the distance, white and gold against the sky. Crowds filled the stands, flags waving, chants in Spanish echoing off the walls. The air smelled like heat, sweat, and fried food. This wasn't training. This was the world watching. Shlomo touched the grass, short, perfect, alive. He whispered to himself, still just a pitch. The whistle blew. The Spanish side attacked fast. Sharp passes, bold touches, confidence that bled into arrogance. Shlomo tracked every step, rehearsing plays in his head. Keep space, shift left, don't dive, anticipate the cut. A midfielder came barreling in. Shlomo feinted right, slipped left, and left him behind. The crowd gasped. Then, out of nowhere, a defender slammed into him. Shoulder first, hard. Shlomo tumbled, rolled, popped up again. The ref didn't call it. The same defender grinned. "Welcome to Spain, Chico." Shlomo wiped his mouth and smiled back. "You'll remember me later." 10 minutes later, the same defender came again, this time from behind. Cleats caught Shlomo's ankle. He went down hard. The whistle screamed, "Yellow card." The crowd erupted, half cheering, half booing. Shlomo winced but waved off the trainer. He could feel his pulse thudding in his ankle. Pain burned, but pride burned hotter. He jogged back into position. In the stands, Luis watched from the bench, jaw tight. Coach Duarte barked from the sideline, Keep your head, Shlomo. Make him pay the right way. Shlomo nodded, breathing deep. He thought of Nana. Don't lose yourself. The next time he touched the ball, he played clean. 1-2 passes with Matthias. Light as rhythm, sharp as steel. Every touch, every pivot, every breath. He was home again, back on that uneven field in St. Thomas, barefoot and fearless. The crowd noise blurred into heartbeat. He saw it before it happened, the run, the space, the chance. Matthias streaked down the wing, whipped across through traffic. Shlomo stepped forward. One touch. The ball spun, curved, kissed the post, and hit the net. The roar swallowed everything. He dropped to his knees, chest heaving, eyes on the sky. Corazón, foam, humildad, heart, hunger, humility. He whispered it like a prayer, like a promise. After the whistle, a reporter fought through the crowd, thrusting a mic toward him. Shlomo Williams, first Caribbean player to score in the Iberia Youth Cup. Who taught you to play like that? Shlomo smiled, chest still rising fast. My grandmother. Back home on St. Thomas. She told me to get up no matter what. The reporter grinned. Then she must be proud. Shlomo's eyes glistened. She always is. That night, alone in the hotel, Shlomo scrolled through his phone. Headlines flashed across every sports site. The Green Lion roars in Spain. He watched the clip again. The goal in slow motion, the crowd, the look on his face just before the net rippled. He sent it to Nana with a single line. For you, always. Then he looked out over Madrid's glowing skyline. You see that, Nana? He whispered. We did it. And somewhere he swore he could hear waves against the sand, like the island was clapping for him from across the sea. Morning light poured through the thin hotel curtains, soft and gold, brushing over Shlomo's face. He blinked awake slowly, the sound of Madrid traffic whispering below. For a second, he forgot where he was, until his phone buzzed on the nightstand, notification after notification. Mentions, articles, reposts, the words blurred together. The Green Lion roars in Spain. Caribbean Wonder Kid stuns at Iberia Youth Cup. Who is Shlomo Williams? He smiled, dazed. Every headline felt unreal, like reading about someone else. He scrolled until he found a message from his mom. Son, we saw the goal on YouTube. You made your father cry. We so proud of you. Then from his dad, shorter, quieter but heavier. You played with heart, son. Keep it that way. His grin trembled into tears. Then another alert lit the screen. A video call. He swiped. Nana's face filled the display, sun spilling through her kitchen window behind her. You sleep yet? She teased, eyes alive. Barely, he laughed. You played like a lion, but now the real work start. He nodded. I know. Spain today, the world tomorrow. But don't let the world take you from who you are. I won't, Nana. You already making the island proud, she said softly. Now go eat before you faint. Her voice lingered even after the call ended. Downstairs, the breakfast hall buzzed. Players laughed, coaches congratulated each other. Cameras flashed. Hugo sat at the far end, jaw tight over his phone. He didn't look up when Shlomo passed. Matthias nudged him. Ignore him, bro. He'll get over it. Shlomo smiled faintly. I'm not worried. Before they could sit, a hotel staffer appeared beside them. Shlomo Williams? Coach Duarte would like to see you. Conference room, please. Matthias whistled. Uh-oh. You break something? Shlomo grinned nervously. Guess I'll find out. The conference room smelled of coffee and fresh paper. Coach Duarte stood by the window with Luis, both in sporting polos. A third man, older, gray at the temples, sporting crest gleaming on his blazer, sat at the table. He turned as Shlomo entered. Ah, here he is. The Green Lion. Shlomo froze mid-step. Sir? Coach Duarte smiled. Sit down, son. The man in the blazer opened a folder, sliding a crisp document across the table. The sporting crest caught the light. This, he said, is an offer for a junior professional contract. It means Sporting Lisbon wants you officially under our program. No longer as a visitor, but as one of our own. Shlomo stared, breath caught in his throat. His name, his dream, in ink. Luis's voice softened. You earned this. No favors, no charity, just football. Shlomo looked up. I need to call my parents, tell them the news. Coach Duarte smiled. Then you better call them, huh? He stepped into the hallway, pulse racing. For a heartbeat, he only stared at the ceiling. Then he dialed home. His mom answered, flour dusting her apron. Shlomo, baby, we just saw the news again. You on TV. He grinned. Mom, they offered me a contract. Silence. Then her voice cracked. A what? A real contract. Sporting Lisbon wants me for next season. His dad's voice called from the background. Let me see that boy. Shlomo turned the camera toward the paper. His father's face filled the screen, pride swelling, eyes wet. You did it, son. Shlomo swallowed hard. We did it. Nana leaned into the frame. And now the real journey start. Just remember what I tell you. He smiled softly. Don't lose myself. That's right, she said. And keep humble. The higher you go, the more wind you meet. That night, Shlomo stood alone on the hotel balcony. Madrid shimmered below horns, laughter, the hum of a city that didn't sleep. The paper fluttered in his hand. He thought about the dirt pitch back home, the flip-flop goals, the smell of rain on red clay, the sound of Nana's voice shouting from the sidelines. He whispered, Coração. Foam, humildade, heart, hunger, humility. He stared at the city lights until they blurred. The world finally felt wide enough to hold his dream. For the first time, he didn't chase it. He stood still and let it find him. The knock came just after class, crisp against the dorm door. Shlomo Williams, a staffer in a green blazer, waited in the hall. Report to the main pitch at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Private session. For what? Shlomo asked. The man smiled. He asked for you by name. That night, sleep refused him. He lay on his back, eyes tracing the cracks in the ceiling, his mind replaying every goal, every mistake, every word Nana had ever said. The air outside buzzed with scooters and faint laughter, but inside, it was just Shlomo and his heartbeat. Before dawn, he was up. No one else moved in the dorm. He pulled on his tracksuit, zipped it tight, and grabbed his ball. The field glowed under the stadium lights, ghostly and perfect. He dropped cones in a row, set his playlist to a soft soca rhythm, and started his routine. Touches, passes, short sprints, direction changes. Each breath came white in the cold air. He wasn't chasing a dream now. He was sharpening it. A sleek black car rolled to a stop near the gate. Shlomo didn't notice. Inside, Cristiano Ronaldo sat quietly, watching the boy move. He saw the focus, the footwork, the hunger that never slept. He smiled faintly. Keep the engine running, he told the driver. I just wanted to see for myself. By 8 o'clock, the sky had warmed to gold. Coach Duarte stood by the center circle, trying not to grin. Luis waited beside him, hands in his pockets. A few cameras were set up near the tunnel, just enough to catch history. Then the tunnel darkened, and he appeared in green, Cristiano Ronaldo. No roar, no spotlight, just that calm, effortless stride, the presence that filled the pitch before he said a word. He shook hands with Duarte, then Luis, then turned toward Shlomo. Shlomo Williams, Ronaldo said, accent soft, eyes bright. They say you play like me. Shlomo's breath caught. I play like I'm from St. Thomas. Ronaldo's laugh was quick and genuine. Good answer. I saw you this morning. First one on the pitch. That's how you stay. The words hit deeper than applause. Shlomo nodded, a small smile breaking through. They warmed up like it was any other training day, passing grids, one-touch drills, finishing. Ronaldo moved with a rhythm that made everything else slow down. When a ball rolled to Shlomo, he settled it clean, turned, and split two defenders with a pass so sharp it drew a whistle from the sidelines. Ronaldo clapped once. Approval. After drills, he called Shlomo over to the bench. No cameras, no crowd. You scored in Spain, Ronaldo said. I saw the clip. You didn't celebrate too much. I like that. It was just one goal, Shlomo said quietly. I've got more to earn, Ronaldo smiled. Good. Loud is easy. Quiet is the test. I've had both. He leaned in. Some will love you only when you win. Some will hate you before you start. You can't play for them. Shlomo swallowed, nodding. Ronaldo tapped his chest. Play for the boy who started here. He pointed to Shlomo's heart. Not here. He pointed to the cameras. The world has enough stars. It needs men. Shlomo's voice was soft. I won't forget. Ronaldo grinned. They told me your words. Corazón. Foam. Humildad, Shlomo said. Ronaldo echoed. Heart, hunger, humility. Keep them in that order. When the session ended, Ronaldo began walking toward the tunnel. Shlomo hesitated, then ran after him. Hey, he called, breathless. So, be honest. Do you really think I play like you? Ronaldo turned, amused. No, he said, eyes warm. You play like you. He clapped Shlomo's shoulder. That's even better. Then he shook Shlomo's hand and held it for a beat longer. Next time we meet, he said, you won't need me to tell you who you are. The tunnel swallowed him. The soft click of studs faded. Morning carried on. Weeks later, Shlomo's flight descended over the Virgin Islands, a wash of green hills, blue water, and sunlight that felt like memory. He stepped out into the warm air and exhaled. Home. The next morning, he was back on the old field, uneven, stubborn, still waiting. He set down cones, started running drills, the same rhythm, the same discipline. A voice called out behind him. Boy, you home 2 minutes and already sweating? He turned, Kareem grinning, taller now. Behind him were Jaynae and Naomi, carrying coconut water and laughter. Big Europe man forget his friends? Kareem teased. Shlomo smiled. Forget? I still hear y'all yelling, pass, in my sleep. They burst out laughing. Come, show us that fancy footwork, Jaynae said. We've been training too. They played until the sun climbed high, joking, shouting, falling in the grass. A few kids from the neighborhood wandered over to watch, then joined in. Before long, it was chaos. Laughter, sweat, and a little magic. On the porch, Nana rocked slow, straw hat low, Bible resting on her lap. Pass the ball sometime, Shlomo, she called. Don't turn selfish again. He grinned. Yes, Nana. She smiled softly, watching the boy who'd once been all talent and no patience move with calm and grace. As dusk fell, the sky burned orange over the harbor. Shlomo stood at the edge of the field, barefoot now, not to train, but to feel home beneath him. He looked at his friends, at the kids still kicking, at Nana rocking on the porch. He whispered, Corazón, foam, humildad, heart, hunger, humility. The words weren't just a mantra anymore. They were his story, written in every pass, every scar, every sunrise. He smiled, turned toward home, and the island held him in a light that never fades. The video buffered on a cracked phone screen, the sound of waves breaking just beyond the fence. A group of boys crowded around, shadows stretching long in the orange dusk. On the screen, Shlomo Williams curved a shot past two defenders, clean, effortless, the crowd erupting as the ball kissed the back of the net. The smallest girl, Naomi Brown, grinned wide, whispering, One day, that'll be me. She kicked at the dirt, sent her scuffed ball rolling toward the sea, and chased it barefoot, laughing. Thousands of miles away, Luis Ferreira sat alone in his Lisbon office. The glow of the monitor painted his face soft blue. He clicked through the match footage. Shlomo in green, eyes sharp, calm in motion. Luis smiled. He leaned forward, pressed record on his mic, and spoke low, his voice steady and sure. When I first saw you, Shlomo, I saw talent, but talent fades. What stayed was your discipline. You learned the hardest lesson. Greatness isn't loud, it's consistent. Never forget, the world won't always clap, but the right people are still watching. He ended the message, saved it, and sent it across the ocean. Then he opened a new folder on his computer labeled Caribbean Prospects. Scrolling to the bottom, he typed a brand new name, Naomi Brown, St. Thomas, age 13, raw, fearless, potential. Luis leaned back in his chair, the hint of a smile on his face. The cycle had begun again. Back on St. Thomas, the sound of soccer rose through the night. Laughter, the thud of a ball, the echo of hope in motion. And somewhere under the same sky, Naomi trained beside the boy who had once whispered, "One day, that'll be me." "Let's go again," Shlomo said, smiling as Naomi caught her breath. "But this time, pass it early." Naomi laughed. "You sound like your Nana." Shlomo grinned. "Good. Means I'm doing it right. The island didn't just remember him. It was raising the next one.